GOP presidential frontrunner Donald Trump has just named several contenders for his running mate and future cabinet. Find out who Trump may choose as his VP. A bipartisan group of Washington lawmakers are demanding answers from the U.S. Attorney General on how many marijuana farms in the U.S. are linked to members of the Chinese Communist Party. More than a dozen governors from across the country joining Governor Greg Abbott in Eagle Pass on Sunday, showing their support to secure the border. NTD's Kelly Wright was there. A large convoy of vehicles traveling from Virginia to Texas concludes. Their message is clear: stop the record surge of illegal immigration. We hear from one of the organizers about the growing movement. Is Boeing facing another potential setback? The company could be seeing more delays for dozens of its planes. How severe is the problem? 140,000 comments attached to a single Chinese social media post about a giraffe. A post from the U.S. Embassy in Beijing becoming a wailing wall for complaints about plunging Chinese stocks. Sad news from the United Kingdom today. Britain's King Charles has been diagnosed with cancer, forcing him to postpone future public engagements. Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Jack Bradley. Right now, we have some breaking news. Britain's King Charles has been diagnosed with cancer and will postpone future public-facing duties. That's according to a statement today by Buckingham Palace. The 75-year-old monarch spent 3 nights in a hospital in January following a corrective procedure for an enlarged prostate. That's when a separate issue of concern was noted. The palace states that tests had identified a form of cancer. Now, the palace did not give any details about the specifics of the cancer, but a royal source says it was not prostate. Charles, who ascended the throne in 2022, was diagnosed with an enlarged prostate last month after experiencing undisclosed symptoms. Former President Donald Trump has named several contenders for his running mate and future cabinet. President Trump is seen by many as the likely Republican nominee, with back-to-back wins in Iowa and New Hampshire, where he won by double-digit margins. Trump said during a recent interview on Fox that he won't announce his running mate for a while, but named potential candidates: Senator Rick Scott of South Carolina and South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. When asked about how he's evaluating them, he said simply, "Who would be a good president?" Trump also addressed who might be in his future cabinet. Those include returning faces: former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe and former head of the Department of Housing and Urban Development Ben Carson. Trump also said he's confident that Democrats in New York will vote for him over the sole issue of illegal immigration.
Yes, New York has changed a lot in the last 2 years. We have migrants all over the street. They're living on Madison Avenue. I mean, nobody can believe what's happened to New York. The people of New York are angry. People that would have never voted for me because I'm a Republican. I mean, they're Democrats. Their parents would they vote for Democrats. I think they're going to vote.
And New York, the most populous city in the United States, has struggled to contend with the arrival of over 120,000 illegal immigrants over this past year. Now, officials in New York City are planning to hand out prepaid debit cards to illegal immigrants sheltering at hotels. A pilot program will be run on 500 families first. The cards can only be used at grocery and convenience stores and are meant for food, hygiene products, and baby supplies. City records show the $53 million program partners with New Jersey's Mobility Capital Finance. Parents staying short-term at the Roosevelt Hotel will get the pilot cards to replace the hotel's food service program. The cards are refilled each month with an amount based on family size and income. The amount is close to what's provided in the state's food stamp program. Applicants need to sign an affidavit promising to spend the money only on exclusive items or lose access to the program. If the pilot is successful, cards will be given to all illegal immigrants sheltering at city hotels, roughly 15,000 people. City Hall officials are touting the program as a more cost-effective way for the families to get food and baby supplies compared to the current system of providing non-perishable food boxes. 13 governors joined Texas Governor Greg Abbott in Eagle Pass yesterday as a show of support. NTD's Kelly Wright brings us more from the southern border.
I'm Kelly Wright in Del Rio, Texas, along the southern border between Texas and Mexico. In fact, to my left, just yards away from me, is the country of Mexico. You can see that there's fencing all the way down the border line. And over my shoulder, this tall structure here, that is the original wall that the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, wanted erected all along the border. Now, what's happening here today is the fact that so many illegal immigrants have crossed into America through the southern border. To be exact, Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, states that 10 million illegal immigrants came across into America just this past year. Now, he, along with 14 other Republican governors, gathered in Eagle Pass, not far from here, at the border there along Mexico, to state very clearly that they want something done about it. They sent a message to President Joe Biden saying enough is enough, something must be done. It's time for the president, they say, to act, to close the open border.
And we are here to send a loud and clear message that we are banding together to fight to ensure that we will be able to maintain our constitutional guarantee that states will be able to defend against any type of imminent danger or an invasion. There's extraordinary danger, imminent danger, crossing our border all the time.
I mean, the federal government's role under the Constitution is to protect our borders, right? And if they fail to protect the borders, then states are obligated to step into that particular breach. None of this would have to happen if the federal government would simply enforce the laws that are already on the books.
Still the greatest country on the face of the world, and we need to be thankful for that, but we also have a responsibility to protect it, because I want my kids and every kid growing up in this country to get to have the same America that we're growing up in right now, but we're going to have to fight for it and protect it if that's what we want to pass down.
And back live now, you can see that the governor of the state of Texas is quite concerned, along with the 14 other Republican governors who came here to stand in solidarity with him. All of them agree that something must be done. And many people that I spoke to here, they agree as well. In fact, some of the people living in Del Rio and Eagle Pass have explained to me that they believe that the federal government has failed them, has let them down in protecting them from illegal immigrants who have come into this country and caused them to lose their livelihood. Ranchers, for example, talking about they lost their livestock, and just average citizens feeling that they can't walk freely through their own neighborhoods anymore because of the dangers or the perils that exist from the threatening issues involving illegal drug trafficking, as well as human trafficking and child trafficking. It's quite a mess here, and the only way to clean up this mess is for Congress and state governments, as well as the federal government, to do something. The citizens want something done. They're actually clamoring for some action, for some change, to cut down on the legal immigration issue. Reporting from Del Rio, Texas, along the Mexico border, I'm Kelly Wright. Back to you.
A vehicle convoy from Virginia to Texas concluded over the weekend. Attendees united in opposing the record numbers of illegal immigration. Earlier, I spoke with Robert Agee, the co-organizer of the Take Our Border Back convoy, about this growing movement.
We must have law and order in this country. I believe God is a God of borders and of law and of order, and there's reasons for that. You know, when we have an open border policy where we just let anybody come across that's unvetted, child trafficking runs rampant. The stories from that I can't even get into. It's atrocious. The amount of drugs, fentanyl, and other substances coming across our border into our nation, killing our children and our loved ones. That's what happens when you have a unvetted open border policy. And you have other bad actors that are sneaking in here that are wanting to do harm. You know, we're a country of immigrants. We love immigrants, people from all countries. But, you know, there has to be a process. And the same reason why we lock our doors at our home and vet who comes into our house. That's such an important thing. And we're holding our, elected officials, those who we hired, accountable to uphold our constitutional rights. And
the sentiment among the attendees at the rally were for President Trump. There were flags for Trump. Now, this sort of record illegal immigration wasn't occurring under Trump. Do they think that he's a potential solution to this problem?
Well, I believe so. You know, he's been very vocal about his stance on the border issues. He's supported Governor Greg Abbott and the decisions that they've made recently to, enact Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, allowing the states to take its safety into its own hands, because Article 4, Section 4 has not been upheld by our federal government. And, we see Trump supporting that. And, again, he's been very vocal about that. And he's the one that wanted to build the wall in the first place, not to stop immigration, but to stop the bad actors, the child trafficking, the drugs, and those that want to do harm.
As far as the common sentiment among all of the rally goers this weekend, what was their take on illegal immigration and the negative impacts from that?
Yeah, well, I think everybody feels the same. The reason why we were down at Cornerstone Children's Ranch is because, the illegals were coming across and raiding their food pantry. This is a ranch that's trying to help children that are in need. They're trying to help widowed women and others, and they can't function when they constantly have this threat. And so, people were so excited to be there to support this children's ranch and to support those congressional candidates that are running for office. Now we know who we can trust, and we know who we can vote for, that are men and women of faith, and that are going to do the right thing, and they're going to stand up with the boldness and courage of David. So it was. These folks left there very encouraged, feeling like what took place this weekend was worth every moment of their time and expense to be a part of.
That was Robert Agee, the co-organizer of the Take Our Border Back convoy. And the U.S. Senate yesterday unveiled a nearly $120 billion bipartisan border security bill. The bill would also provide aid to Ukraine and Israel. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on this legislation that's already facing opposition from the House of Representatives.
President Biden called on Congress to unite and swiftly pass the border agreement. But House Speaker Mike Johnson declared it dead on arrival if it reaches his chamber. Johnson wrote on X that this bill is even worse than we expected and won't come close to ending the border catastrophe the president has created. The House Speaker addressed the border on NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday.
The American people are done with this. The border has to be secured. The president has the authority right now. He doesn't need another act of Congress.
The bill would provide about $20 billion for border security, around $60 billion for Ukraine, about $14 billion for Israel, and $10 billion in humanitarian assistance for civilians in conflict zones, including in Ukraine, Gaza, and the West Bank. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said he would take steps to hold an initial vote on the bill on Wednesday. The bill's proponents said it would end the controversial catch-and-release practice that critics say contribute to high numbers of illegal immigrants arriving at the southern border. It would do so by speeding up rulings on asylum cases instead of quickly releasing apprehended illegal migrants and allowing them to stay in the United States for years while they await hearings. Some Republicans are skeptical of the new Senate bill. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise wrote on X that, "Here's what the people pushing this deal aren't telling you. It accepts 5,000 illegal immigrants a day and gives automatic work permits to asylum recipients, a magnet for more illegal immigration. Once the number of encounters reaches 5,000, expulsions would automatically take effect. Immigration is the second largest concern for Americans, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll published last week." Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Members from both chambers of Congress are seeking answers over illegal marijuana growing operations and their alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party. A leaked 2023 memo from the Department of Homeland Security shows that over 270 suspected illegal marijuana growing operations in Maine that were linked to the Chinese regime were possibly generating billions in revenue. The bipartisan group sent a letter to the AG, Merrick Garland, last week expressing their concerns. They want to know how many marijuana farms are being allegedly run by Chinese nationals, especially those with the potential tie to the Chinese Communist Party. Now, they believe that thousands of illicit Chinese marijuana growing operations pose a direct threat to public safety, human rights, and national security. In some cases, the grow operators also engage in human trafficking, forced labor, drug trafficking, and violent crime. Lawmakers say most of the illegal pot farms can be found in states with legalized or relaxed marijuana laws. The Chinese market is bracing against yet another blow, with stock prices plunging in recent days. To voice their anger, Chinese people are flocking to an unexpected part of social media, the official Weibo account of the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. NTD's Dave Martin has more.
Weebo is China's most popular microblogging site, often billed as the country's version of X. And lately, 140,000 comments have been glued onto a Friday post made by the American Embassy in Beijing. The post focused on the conservation of wild giraffes, but the comments zeroed in on economic woes. Here are a few of them. One user wrote, "We know they are lying. They know they are lying. They know that we know they are lying. And we also know that they know we know they are lying. But they are still lying. Could you tell me which prosperous country the above statement describes?" Another added, "Do you want to protect me too? Giraffes are life, so am I." While one of the over 15,000 reposts asks the embassy, quote, "Could you spare us some missiles to bomb away the Shanghai Stock Exchange?" The post was later deleted, and users turned their attention towards the Weibo of the Indian embassy in China, with some leaving comments like, "I'm so envious of the Indian Stock Exchange. It's amazing. And great country, great financial market. Thumbs up to you." Others praised Indian Prime Minister Modi. Some users reported that their Weibo accounts and other linked social media accounts had been blocked after leaving the comments. Chinese authorities regularly censor Weibo posts they view as negative when they gain traction. This is Dave Martin for NTD News.
Severe winter weather is hammering California today as another atmospheric river brings drenching rains, heavy winds, and mudslides throughout the region. Residents are bracing for more of the same this week. Thus, this weather imagery here shows how this atmospheric river is flowing across the northern jet stream Monday. The storms over the weekend included roadway flooding and knocking out power to more than 350,000 people. Hurricane and tornado force winds have state emergency management workers issuing severe wind warnings for the central part of the state. Evacuation orders are also in place across the state due to the potential of mudslides. Forecasters are anticipating days of heavy rains. When we come back, Boeing is facing more delays in delivering its 737 MAX jet because of supply chain issues and 2 misdrilled holes on some aircraft. Snapchat is cutting back jobs. It's the second time this social media app has slashed its payroll.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shen Yun.
A friend of mine, she told me about Bonatti. He was the only one to address all 4 discs as quickly as possible. And if you're to that point where you can't take it anymore, like I was, do your research, find out who the best is, and get it done.
Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
The tempting online world is encroaching on our campus. Is unplugging cables and confiscating phones the solution to protect our children? No, we just need a clean multimedia platform. Join Ganjing Campus to leverage premium channel features, professional development courses, and kindness event toolkits tailored for teachers. Build a truly positive and interactive classroom community. Foster a pure and delightful learning environment for children.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50-enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
Great to have you back. In France, despite minimal support from politicians, some politicians, party leaders, and members of parliament are calling to leave the EU. But they are finding more support after the farmers' protests. They argue that member states have no power to renegotiate EU treaties. And despite promises from the French government, nothing will change for the farmers. NTD's France correspondent David Vivez has the story.
While the majority of French farmers are returning to work and clearing blockades on France's highways, some remain to deliver a message. For Alexandre Pat, farmers will have more opportunities to protest this year.
If the government does nothing today, they'll remember it at the European elections. Then there are the Olympic Games. I think farmers are still ready to mobilize during the Olympic Games.
In Paris, hundreds of protesters this weekend have attended a demonstration near the Eiffel Tower at the call of the political group Les Patriotes. They're calling for the French government to leave the European Union, or Frexit. Their slogan, Frexit, is similar to Brexit, named after the British leaving the EU. One of the reasons of protests in many EU countries are the cheap imports due to free trade agreements and overwhelming regulations. Both of these issues find their roots decisions made in Brussels. For policy analyst Charles-Henri Gallois, there is no way for any member state to deviate or renegotiate the treaties signed by the EU Commission.
But in any case, we are not going to change the current treaties, and you'd be lying to people to make them believe that, because the current treaties are already the price of 60 years of compromises, that nobody can or wants to go back on.
French President Emmanuel Macron said he wouldn't sign the latest free trade agreement, Mercosur, as it is now written in order to ease the farmers' protest. But in the end, Gallois says the EU will move on with that treaty anyway.
Macron is trying to gain time, even on the Mercosur agreement. So what's actually going to happen? They'll wait until after the European elections. Then he'll certainly get some cosmetic concessions, and he'll end up signing.
Party leader Florian Philippot tore down the EU flag at the protest.
For 40 years, they've been selling the idea at every European election that they are going to change Europe. But they'd never change Europe. It can't be changed. It can't be reformed. It's less and less reformable. We just have to get out and destroy it before it destroys us for good.
Leaving the EU isn't on the agenda of any parliament group, but the idea seems to find more supporters after the farmers' protests. A poll published last week shows 39% of French believe the EU treaties are responsible for the farmers' protests. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Back in the U.S., the parent company of Snapchat is cutting roughly 500 jobs. According to a regulatory filing by Snap Inc. on Monday, the cuts impact 10% of the global full-time staff. The company said it is looking to restructure its team, estimating the changes will cost up to $75 million. The latest layoffs at Snapchat come after the company cut about 1,200 jobs in 2022. And Boeing notes potential delays and finds another problem. And Iraq bans some local banks from U.S. dollar transactions. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's business brief.
Thank you, Jack. Potentially another setback for plane maker Boeing. The company discovered another problem in some of its 737 fuselages that may delay deliveries of about 50 aircraft. Improperly drilled holes were discovered by a major supplier of fuselages to Boeing. The CEO of Boeing's Commercial Airplanes division said in a letter to employees that, quote, "This potential condition is not an immediate safety issue, and all 737s can continue operating safely. We currently believe we will have to perform rework on about 50 delivered planes." Boeing is already facing intense scrutiny over the quality of their work after an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 door plug blew out of the side of the plane. And Iraq has banned 8 local commercial banks from engaging in U.S. dollar transactions. The move is to reduce fraud, money laundering, and other illegal uses of U.S. currency. The ban comes just days after a visit from a top U.S. Treasury official. The 8 banks are banned from accessing the Iraqi central bank's daily dollar auction. The auction is a main source of hard currency in the import-dependent country, and Iraq has become a focal point of a U.S. crackdown on currency smuggling to neighboring Iran. The country is a rare ally of both the U.S. and Iran. Iraq has more than $100 billion in reserves held in the U.S. It relies heavily on Washington's goodwill to ensure that its access to oil reserves and finances are not blocked. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Don. And now that brings us up to date. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. Stay tuned for NTD Evening News with Tiffany Meyer tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. I'm Jack Bradley. See you tomorrow.